Welcome on board, chosen one. Let's stop pretending this was luck. Let's stop acting like this just happened, because the room didn't go quiet by accident. The smiles didn't freeze by coincidence. The whispers didn't suddenly die because people got bored. No, the world shifted because a line was crossed and everyone felt it at the same time. They said you were overhyped. They said you got lucky. They said, give it time, they'll fall apart. Funny how quiet those voices got. Funny how the same people who laughed now avoid eye contact. Funny how the ones who dismissed you suddenly speak your name like it carries weight. You didn't argue back. You didn't beg to be understood. You kept moving, and that terrified them more than any speech ever could. Look who's nervous now. Look who's watching from the sidelines. Look who suddenly needs updates, proof, confirmation. Oh, the legend needs to bow, they joked. Except you never bowed. You stood still, and somehow that was enough to shake the whole room. Here's the part they'll never admit out loud. They checked, quietly, desperately, behind your back. They called everyone you've ever known, every ex, every old boss, every former friend, every enemy, dozens of calls, all hunting for the same thing. One person willing to say they're fake. Just one voice to confirm their doubt, validate their jealousy, and give them permission to keep underestimating you. Instead, something else happened. Every single call ended the same way. Every conversation reached the same conclusion. Every background check led to one uncomfortable truth they couldn't escape anymore. You were exactly who people said you were. Actually, more than that. You were real in a way that couldn't be staged, denied, or explained away. After all the whispers, all the questions asked behind your back, all the quiet investigations, they had to face it. You weren't just legitimate, you were undeniable. What was meant to discredit you became the moment they accidentally verified you. That's why the energy feels strange now. That's why the air feels heavy when you walk into a space. You're standing in the silence after the storm, where everything that needed to fall already has. The enemy didn't lose loudly. They lost privately, and those losses hurt the most. Before we go deeper, press like and subscribe, not for me, for this message. This is how you send it back into the universe and strengthen the signal. You felt it before anyone said anything. The shift, the pause, the way conversations stopped when you entered the room, the way people suddenly acted careful around you, like one wrong word might expose what they really think. This isn't admiration yet. This is fear mixed with respect. This is the moment people realize they misjudged someone they can no longer control. They tried everything, ignoring you, downplaying you, comparing you to others, waiting for you to slip. And when none of that worked, they went digging. Because when someone keeps winning quietly, the only comfort left is hoping the story isn't real. But it was real. All of it. There's a reason this feels personal. Because it is. This isn't about fame. It's not about attention. It's about survival. It's about being doubted so long that silence became your language. It's about nights where you questioned yourself, not because you were weak, but because no one stood beside you when it mattered. Think back. There was a version of you they laughed at, a version they ignored, a version they thought would never make it out of that phase. That version took notes. That version didn't break. That version learned when to stay quiet and when to move. History is full of moments like this. People who were dismissed until the room had no choice but to acknowledge them, not because they demanded respect, but because reality forced it. The strongest figures were never understood early. They were studied later, usually too late. Now the story flipped. Now it's, yeah, he's the one. Not said with pride, said with disbelief, said with the tone of someone realizing they backed the wrong side. You don't need to announce your victory. The universe already did it for you. in reactions, in silence, in the way your name travels without you being present. This is what happens when effort outlasts doubt, when consistency embarrasses criticism, when patience beats noise. And here's the final truth they won't say, but feel every day. You didn't just prove them wrong, you changed how they judge everyone after you. You became the reference point, the standard, the quiet threat that reminds them what happens when they underestimate the wrong person. Stand there, in that calm, in that aftermath. You earned it. The crown wasn't given, it was recognized. And once that happens, there's no going back. Good. Now don't blink. This is the part where people usually leave. Not because it gets boring, but because it gets uncomfortably accurate. This is where the ones who were just entertained fade out, and the ones who were actually chosen feel that quiet pressure in their chest telling them to stay. If everyone really freaked out and said, yeah, he's the one, then what comes next is not applause. It's understanding the weight that comes with that crown. This isn't a hype speech. This is a breakdown, step by step, moment by moment. How it really happens when the room turns, the whispers flip, and the same people who doubted you start watching you like a problem they failed to solve. If you're real, you already feel it. That pull to keep listening, that instinct telling you there's something here you're supposed to hear before moving forward. So lock in. Drop a comment with the number 777 if you're ready to stop running from the isolation, the pressure, the silence, and start using it as proof that you were built for this role. That comment isn't for me. It's a signal, a marker, a quiet "I know" to yourself. Now we dive in, slowly, cleanly, no noise, no mercy. Let's start breaking it down, step by step. Number 1, they went hunting for dirt and came back with a crown. You don't panic and start calling everyone unless the truth is already chasing you. They didn't start those calls nervous. Let's get that straight. They started cocky, relaxed, almost amused. In their minds, this was going to be easy. Dial a few numbers, hear a few cracks in your story, collect a weak moment or two. Walk away satisfied that you were just another illusion that got lucky for a moment. That was the plan. Clean, simple, lazy. They were sure someone would say it. Someone always does, right? An ex with bitterness, a former boss with envy, a friend who felt left behind. All they needed was one voice, one shaky sentence, one "yeah, but," to justify every doubt they had about you. They weren't searching for truth. They were searching for permission to keep underestimating you. Instead, the universe handed them a slap. Call after call ended the same way. No hesitation, no awkward pauses, no backtracking. People didn't whisper about you. They spoke plainly, calmly, almost bored, like your work ethic and focus were obvious facts, not opinions. Words like relentless came up. Locked in. Different. The kind of descriptions that don't sound impressive at first, until you realize they all point to the same thing. You operate on a level that makes comparison uncomfortable. That's where the panic started. Because this wasn't one person hyping you up. This was pattern after pattern, different voices, same conclusion. You weren't pretending, you weren't exaggerating, you weren't playing a role. You were exactly who people thought you were, and in some cases, more disciplined than anyone expected. The calls that were meant to expose you started building a case for you instead. This is the moment the enemy never prepares for, when control slips quietly, when their little investigation turns into your confirmation, when every attempt to shrink you adds another inch to your shadow. You might be wondering why this matters, why them calling people behind your back feels so heavy now. It's because this is where narratives die. Once enough people independently describe the same version of you, the story becomes locked. No rumors can touch it. No last-minute smear can undo it. You stop being a question mark and become a conclusion. They felt that shift immediately. That's why the tone changed. That's why the jokes stopped. That's why the "let's see how long this lasts" energy vanished overnight. They didn't get the satisfaction of catching you slipping. They got trapped listening to praise they didn't want to hear. They were forced to sit with the realization that the person they doubted had already been vetted by life itself. And here's the part that should fuel you. You didn't campaign for this. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't chase approval. You let your consistency do the talking. While they were busy comparing, measuring, and gossiping, you were building something so solid that even enemies couldn't lie about it without sounding stupid. Think about that. Even the people who don't like you couldn't discredit you. That's power. This answers the quiet question many of you are carrying right now. Why does it feel like they're watching me more closely? Because once someone realizes they were wrong about you, they don't just walk away. They observe, they study, they try to figure out how they missed it, and in doing so, they give you even more space to move freely. Another question you might have is this: why didn't anyone warn me? Because this kind of verification happens behind closed doors. You don't get an announcement, you get silence, you get weird energy. You get people treating you differently without explaining why. That's the aftermath of those calls. Here's a metaphor they hate, but it fits. They thought they were pulling a loose thread. Instead, they tightened the knot around their own doubts. Every call stitched your reputation deeper into place. Every question they asked turned into evidence they couldn't delete. This is also why some of them are suddenly polite, or overly respectful, or strangely distant. They know something now, something they wish they didn't. You're not a risk they can casually dismiss anymore. You're a variable they failed to account for. And let's be honest, part of them hoped you were fake because it would have made their own inaction easier to justify. If you were pretending, they didn't have to confront why they stayed small. If you were exaggerating, they didn't have to question their own excuses. But the truth cornered them, and truth is cruel when it shows up uninvited. For the chosen ones listening, take this in slowly. This wasn't about talent alone. Plenty of talented people get exposed. This was about character under pressure, about how you showed up when no one was watching, about the version of you that didn't need an audience to stay disciplined. That's why the answers were so consistent. Real recognizes real, even when jealousy is involved. They didn't crown you out of kindness. They crowned you because reality forced their hand. So when you feel that strange calm now, that sense that something already ended, even though no one said it out loud, trust it. You're not imagining it. You're standing on the other side of a quiet battle you didn't even know was happening. And you won without lifting your voice. Let this burn into your memory. The enemy tried to dig up dirt and found stone. They tried to expose you and ended up exposing themselves. They tried to control the story and accidentally finalized it. From this point on, they don't ask, "Who do they think they are?" anymore. They ask, softly, carefully, and a little too late, "How did we miss this?" And that's exactly where you wanted them. Number 2, every single one of them ended up testifying for you. When even the people who dislike you stop lying, the case is already over. They didn't defend you, they confirmed you. You don't become undeniable by being liked. You become undeniable by being consistent. The moment your enemies start telling the truth is the moment the story locks in. Here's where it really twisted their stomach. The plan wasn't just to dig. The plan was to corner you using familiar faces. People who knew you before the growth, before the shift, before the crown. They thought those voices would crack first. They always do, right? History says exes carry resentment, old bosses carry ego, former friends carry jealousy. That was supposed to be their leverage. Instead, those people became witnesses. Your ex didn't smile about it. There was no nostalgia, no softness, but even through clenched teeth, the truth slipped out. They were different, not perfect, not easy, different. The kind of different that makes people uncomfortable because it exposes what they tolerated in themselves. They might have talked about your flaws, but when it came to your drive, your focus, your presence, they couldn't lie without sounding ridiculous. Your old boss tried to keep it professional, tried to downplay it, but then came the sentence that ruined everything. Honestly, they were operating above the role. That one line burns, because it admits something most leaders hate admitting. You weren't managed. You were contained. You weren't trained. You were limited. And deep down, they knew it. Former friends were the hardest, bitterness thick in their voice, old comparisons bubbling up. We used to be close. They changed. But then, like gravity, the truth pulled the conversation back to center. They always had that focus. Once they locked in, nothing stopped them. Even resentment couldn't erase the pattern. Imagine this. They're sitting there, phone in hand, waiting for the story to fall apart. And instead, it keeps rebuilding itself from every angle. Different people, different histories, same conclusion. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Even the ones who straight up didn't like you told the truth anyway. That's the part they didn't plan for. Because when dislike doesn't turn into lies, it means the evidence is too heavy to lift. These weren't fans hyping you. These were people with no incentive to protect you, and still the words lined up. This is when the investigation flipped. They weren't hearing about mistakes anymore. They were hearing about consistency, showing up early, staying late, not complaining, not cutting corners, not needing applause. Over and over again, the same traits surfaced like a fingerprint. You didn't perform randomly, you moved with pattern, and pattern is the enemy of doubt. Ask yourself this question because it's one many of you are quietly asking right now. Why does it feel like people suddenly respect me without saying why? This is why. Respect often happens privately before it shows publicly. Long before compliments arrive, conclusions are reached. Imagine trying to poke holes in a wall, only to realize it's reinforced steel. Every hit just echoes back at you. That's what their questions did. They weren't uncovering weakness. They were mapping your strength. Here's another image they hate. Imagine a courtroom where every witness you thought you could manipulate ends up validating the same story, not because they rehearsed it, but because reality rehearsed them. You don't beat that with spin. You don't out-talk that. You sit there and swallow it. This answers another question many chosen ones carry. Why do they act embarrassed around me now? Because they know they misjudged you out loud, and now the quiet proof contradicts them. Being wrong in public hurts. Being wrong in private changes behavior. They thought they were exposing you as exaggerated. Instead, they exposed themselves as people who doubted what they never took the time to understand. That's the real humiliation. Not that you won, but that you won without explaining yourself. Imagine a shadow growing so slowly that no one notices until suddenly it covers the room. That's how this happened. No big announcement. No dramatic reveal, just a steady expansion until denial became impossible. Here's a hard truth you need to hear. This moment wasn't about revenge, it was about resolution. The universe closed a loop for you. Questions that followed you for years were answered without you being present. Accusations died without you defending yourself. That's not luck. That's alignment. And now, something irreversible has happened. You've crossed from being discussed to being decided. People don't debate you anymore. They reference you. They don't ask, is it real? They ask, how far does it go? One more metaphor, and sit with it. Imagine a mirror being held up to everyone who doubted you. They weren't just forced to see you clearly. They were forced to see themselves, and most people hate mirrors that don't flatter. This is why the energy feels heavy but calm, victorious but quiet. You're not celebrating because this wasn't a performance. This was verification, the kind that sticks. They wanted witnesses to tear you down. They accidentally assembled a panel that crowned you. And once that happens, there's no undoing it. From here on out, you don't need validation. You already survived the audit. The verdict is in, and everyone who mattered already said the same thing, whether they liked it or not. Yeah, he's the one. Number 3. They tried to snap the pattern and realized you are the pattern. Anyone can fake moments. Almost no one can fake consistency. Rumors survive chaos. Patterns survive scrutiny. You didn't slip because there was nothing false to expose. This is where it stopped being entertaining for them and started feeling dangerous. Because stories can be twisted, moments can be misread. But patterns don't care about opinions. They don't bend for jealousy. They don't crack under pressure. And no matter how hard they pushed, yours stayed solid. Every story lined up, public and private, before success and after it, when things were quiet and when eyes were on you. You didn't switch masks. You didn't perform for approval. You didn't need to sell a version of yourself. What people saw was what they got, and that terrified them more than any ugly rumor ever could. Imagine this. They're flipping pages, expecting contradictions, a gap, a weakness. Instead, it reads like the same handwriting over and over again. Different chapters, same tone. That's when panic creeps in. Because lies require energy. Truth just sits there. They kept dialing. One more call, one more angle, one more, maybe this person knows something. But the pattern didn't crack. It repeated. Calm, focused, disciplined. Not flashy, not desperate, just steady, like gravity. And gravity doesn't care who doubts it. You weren't an exception. That's the part they really hate. Exceptions can be explained away. Lucky break, right timing, special case. But you weren't that. You were the anomaly, the rule breaker who didn't look like one. The rare case where consistency wasn't learned later, it was baked in early. Some of you are asking quietly, why does this scare them so much? Because if your success wasn't fake, then their excuses are. If you didn't cheat the process, then their shortcuts look ugly. Your pattern forces comparisons they don't want to make. Here's another image. Imagine trying to erase footprints, only to realize they're carved into stone. That's what their investigation ran into. No matter how far back they went, the same discipline showed up, same work ethic, same restraint, same silence. That's when the calls slowed, not because they got answers, but because they got too many, all pointing one direction. You didn't need to defend yourself. The pattern did it for you, and now they know something they can't unknow. You're not unpredictable, you're inevitable. Number 4. This is the part that actually broke them. Praise didn't hurt them, consistency did. Most people fall apart in private. You got sharper. They weren't scared of your success. They were scared of what it said about them. This didn't hurt them the way they expected. It wasn't jealousy alone. It wasn't competition. It wasn't even the fact that you won. What really cracked them was something far more uncomfortable. You didn't have gaps. Most people do. Almost everyone has at least one version of themselves they hope never gets mentioned. A weak phase, a fake phase, a messy truth they pray stays buried. That's what they were counting on. That's what usually saves the doubters. One ugly story that brings everything down to size. You didn't give them that. Your private self didn't collapse. It outperformed. The version of you nobody saw was more disciplined than the one people praised. When no one was watching, you weren't slacking, you were sharpening. That's backwards to most people, and that's why they couldn't process it. Imagine this, they expected to hear, yeah, online they look strong, but in real life, instead, they heard the opposite. Honestly, they're even more serious behind the scenes. That flips the whole narrative. That's when doubt turns into discomfort. What broke them wasn't compliments about your talent. It was the stories, quiet stories, personal ones. Someone saying you changed how they think. Someone admitting you raised their standards without trying. Someone else confessing that being around you forced them to step up or fall behind. That's dangerous influence. Not loud, not controlling, just existing at a level that challenges everyone nearby. You might be wondering, why does that bother them so much? Because it means you didn't just succeed. You affected people, and influence can't be erased with gossip. Here's another image. Imagine trying to tear down a building only to realize it's already reinforced from the inside. That's what they ran into. Your foundation was stronger than the noise around it. They weren't mad you were respected. They were shaken because your truth survived inspection. And once that happens, the story ends. In your favor. Number 5. When hate itself couldn't lie anymore. The truth hits hardest when it comes from someone who wanted to destroy you. Enemies don't praise by choice. They confess under pressure. When even betrayal can't stain you, the case is finished. This was the final blow, the part that made the room go dead quiet. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was irreversible. Even your enemies told the truth, not proudly, not comfortably, but clearly. And that's how everyone knew it was over. These weren't supporters. These weren't allies. These were people who would have benefited from seeing you fail. People who waited for the chance to say, "I told you so." People who rehearsed speeches in their head about your downfall. And yet, when asked directly, their voices betrayed them. They tried to criticize you and ended up explaining why you were untouchable. Imagine this, someone leans back, arms crossed, ready to tear into you. Then the words come out wrong. I mean, I don't like them, but they never lied. Another pause. They didn't betray anyone. Silence. That's not defense. That's surrender. Those who betrayed you had to admit something that burned going down. You never betrayed anyone. You didn't snake. You didn't flip sides. You didn't play dirty. They wanted to justify what they did, but the truth wouldn't cooperate. Those who walked away admitted you didn't chase them. No begging, no desperate calls, no public meltdowns. You let them leave with their excuses intact. That restraint alone shattered the narrative they hoped to build. And the ones who tried to break you, they had no choice but to acknowledge the comeback. Not louder, not messier, stronger, calmer, sharper. You might be asking yourself, why does this matter if they're still enemies? Because when opposition confirms your character, credibility becomes permanent. Lies need allies. Truth stands alone. Picture a blade being tested against stone. The stone chips, the blade stays clean. That's what this was. Pressure applied, integrity revealed. They didn't want to validate you. They just couldn't escape reality. And once even hate tells the truth, there's nothing left to argue. The crown locks in. Number 6. You let silence do the execution. You don't defend yourself when the truth is doing laps around the lie. Explaining is what people do when their life can't back them up. Silence isn't weakness when results are speaking fluently. This part confused them more than anything else. You never defended yourself, not once. No long messages, no emotional speeches, no public clarifications. You didn't jump into comment sections swinging. You didn't chase misunderstandings like they were worth your breath. You let your life handle it. That restraint messed with them. Most people panic when their name gets questioned. They rush to explain. They overtalk. They try to control perception. You didn't. You moved forward, quietly, consistently. While they were busy debating your legitimacy, you were stacking private wins that didn't need witnesses. Imagine this. They're arguing about a rumor while you're making a decision that changes your future. They're replaying old versions of you while you're building a new one. That gap is lethal because by the time they finish talking, the scoreboard already changed. You might be wondering, did staying silent cost me anything? No, it protected everything. Silence filtered out noise. Silence forced the universe to do the bookkeeping. Every hard choice you made when nobody clapped. Every night you chose discipline over comfort. Every time you walked away instead of proving a point. It all stacked. They didn't see it happening, but they felt it later. Here's another picture. Imagine a courtroom where one side keeps shouting accusations and the other side never speaks. Then evidence keeps rolling in on its own. Documents, records, witnesses, timelines. That's what your life did. It testified without you raising your voice. They wanted a reaction. They needed you emotional, defensive, messy, because mess creates doubt. You gave them nothing but distance, and distance turned into authority. This answers a question many of you carry. Why does it feel like I won without fighting? Because you didn't fight them. You outlived the narrative. You didn't defend yourself because you didn't need to. The universe already filed the report. Number 7. The moment the room leaned your way. Momentum doesn't announce itself. It shows up and dares anyone to stop it. Once the truth spreads, doubt becomes a liability. They didn't switch sides out of loyalty. They switched because resistance got dangerous. This is where the air changed. Not loudly, not dramatically. Subtle at first, almost polite. But once confirmation spread, nothing stayed neutral anymore. People who were sitting on the fence felt it tip, and no one wanted to be on the wrong side when it landed. Silence turned into acknowledgement, not applause, not praise, just small shifts, a nod, a pause before speaking your name, a change in tone. Those are the signs that matter, because people acknowledge power long before they celebrate it. Doubting you suddenly carried risk. It wasn't smart anymore. It wasn't casual. Saying the wrong thing about you now came with consequences. Side-eye. Awkward silence. Someone correcting the speaker without even looking at you. That's when you know the ground moved. Imagine this. Someone tries to challenge you the way they used to. Same energy, same dismissive tone, and it lands wrong. The room tightens. People look away, not at you, at them. That's embarrassment arriving late. What they planned to use to slow you down turned into fuel. The investigation became advertising. The whispers became signals. The doubt created curiosity, and curiosity turned into attention. Momentum doesn't need permission. It feeds on resistance. You might be asking, why does this feel so sudden? Because momentum builds quietly, then shows up all at once. Like pressure behind a door, the moment it opens, everyone pretends they expected it. Here's another image. Imagine pushing against a door for months, thinking it's locked, only to realize it opens outward. That's what they did. Their push sent you forward. Now the rules changed. Challenging you without preparation became embarrassing. Speaking on you without facts became dangerous. You didn't raise your voice. The environment adjusted around you. This is the part where many chosen ones feel strangely calm. Not excited, not shocked, just steady. That's because you're not reacting. You're aligning with something already in motion. What was meant to create doubt didn't weaken you. It revealed which way the room was already leaning. Number 8. The stories that locked the verdict for good. Facts start the fire. Stories make it impossible to put out. Anyone can talk about potential. Stories expose who you are under pressure. They didn't discover a new you. They finally noticed the old one. This is where it stopped being debatable. Confirmation is one thing. Stories are something else entirely. Because facts can be ignored, but stories stick. And once people started sharing them, the door slammed shut. They didn't just say you were real. They remembered moments, specific ones. Times you showed up when everyone else disappeared. Situations where pressure crushed the room, and somehow you stayed standing. People talked about how you handled weight most wouldn't even pick up. Not loudly, not dramatically, just effectively. Imagine this, a room on fire, everyone scrambling for exits, and one person moving calmly toward the problem. That was you. Again and again. Different places, different seasons, same response. That pattern doesn't form overnight. They talked about how you took hits that would have broken others, loss, betrayal, isolation, and instead of spiraling, you converted it. Pain didn't slow you down, it sharpened you, faster than expected, faster than reasonable. That scared people, because resilience like that can't be taught easily. Here's the detail that really sealed it. When the timeline came out, it ruined every lazy theory. This wasn't a recent glow-up, not a sudden switch, not a lucky run. You didn't wake up different last year. You'd always been this way. The only thing that changed was visibility. That answers a question many of you feel, but don't say. Why do they act like I came out of nowhere? Because they weren't paying attention before. Your consistency existed long before their curiosity did. Picture a mountain hidden by fog. The mountain didn't grow overnight. The fog just moved. Once those stories spread, the tone shifted permanently. You weren't a trend, you weren't a moment. You were a constant people failed to notice until pressure forced them to look. That's when the verdict locked. Not because people agreed, but because reality did. Number 9. They put you on trial and ended up crowning you. When someone investigates you this hard, it's already admiration in disguise. You don't audit nobodies. The more they searched for flaws, the louder your absence of them became. This was the cleanest reversal of all. The investigation didn't just fail, it flipped. What they thought was a quiet teardown turned into a full public confirmation. They weren't gathering evidence against you. They were assembling your case, piece by piece, without realizing it. Every call they made was a confession. You don't spend this much energy on someone you've dismissed. You don't chase answers about someone you consider irrelevant. Attention like that always reveals the truth. You had already moved into their head rent-free, and they couldn't evict you. Imagine this. Someone insists they don't care, yet memorizes your timeline, studies your habits, and cross-checks your past. That's not doubt. That's fixation. That's the moment curiosity crosses into respect, even if they refuse to name it. Every question they asked exposed them. How long has he been like this? Was he always this disciplined? Did anyone see it coming? Those aren't attacks. Those are the questions people ask when they realize they misjudged someone important. You might be thinking, why does this feel like victory without celebration? Because vindication is quiet. It doesn't need noise. It shows up as a shift in behavior, fewer jokes, more caution, longer pauses before speaking your name. Here's a metaphor they hate. Imagine setting a trap only to walk into it yourself. That's what happened. Their own process boxed them in. They proved you mattered by trying so hard to prove you didn't. This is the part where control disappears. Once the investigation becomes vindication, the narrative is no longer theirs to manage. They can't undo the calls. They can't unhear the answers. They can't rewind the realization. They played themselves, and you didn't have to lift a finger. From here on, the story moves without their permission. Number 10. When the smoke cleared, only one name was left. Chaos separates people. Truth aligns them. When rivals agree, the argument is finished. Unity is what happens when denial runs out of options. This is what happened after the noise died, after the calls stopped, after the questions ran out. When the dust finally settled, something rare and uncomfortable took place. People who hadn't spoken in years found themselves agreeing on the same thing, not emotionally, logically, calmly, without needing to convince each other. Former rivals nodded at the same conclusion. Not friends, not allies, people who once competed, clashed, or quietly hoped you'd slow down. They didn't reconcile, they aligned. And alignment like that doesn't come from hype. It comes from certainty. Imagine this: two people on opposite sides of a room who never see eye to eye, both glancing at the same scoreboard. They don't cheer, they don't talk, they just accept what's there. That's how this landed. Strangers reached it on their own. Family members who usually disagree on everything suddenly spoke your name the same way. Independent paths, same destination. That's not influence, that's gravity. When enough people arrive at the same truth without coordination, the argument dies. This answers a question many chosen ones feel at this stage. Why does it feel finished even though no one said it out loud? Because closure doesn't need an announcement. It shows up as agreement without discussion. Here's another image. Imagine smoke clearing after a fire, and there's only one structure still standing. No banners, no speeches, just presence. That's what remained when the investigation burned itself out. The unity wasn't planned. It was forced by reality. Every angle tested, every story checked, every doubt exhausted. What was left couldn't be denied anymore. You're not the loudest, you're not the flashiest, you're the one that remained when everything else was questioned. And once the room agrees without being asked, the title sticks. You're the one. Number 11. The room reached a verdict it can't unhear. A unanimous verdict doesn't need defending. You don't argue with agreement, you live with it. Once the truth settles, every glance becomes confirmation. This wasn't a split decision, no debate, no side conversations, no but maybe. The verdict landed clean and final, unanimous. You're exactly who you appear to be, and somehow still more than they expected. Not because you said it, not because you demanded it, because every angle they tested led back to the same conclusion. That's the kind of verdict that messes with people. They can't unknow what they learned. That's the real weight of it. Doubt can be revisited. Curiosity can be paused. But once confirmation locks in, it stains everything that comes after. Every time they see you now, they don't just see a person. They see the process that proved you, the calls, the stories, the alignment, the silence that followed. Imagine this. Someone hears your name mentioned casually, and there's a pause, not because they're surprised, because they remember. They remember how many people checked, how many voices lined up, how no one could poke a hole in it. That pause is respect forming without permission. You might be asking yourself, why do they act different around me now? Because every interaction carries context. They're no longer meeting you fresh. They're meeting the verdict that came before you walked in. Here's another image. Imagine a courtroom after the decision is read. No arguing, no drama, just people gathering their things, knowing the outcome is sealed. That's the energy around you now. Quiet acceptance. You didn't crown yourself. That's the part that matters. Self-proclaimed power is loud and fragile. Universally acknowledged power is calm and heavy. It doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt. Every time they hear your name, they hear the chorus behind it. All those voices they contacted, all those confirmations they didn't want, all those stories they couldn't erase. The verdict follows you now, and verdicts don't get overturned. Number 12. This is how legends form without asking permission. Legends aren't announced, they're whispered into existence. You don't build a legend by talking, you build it by surviving scrutiny. When people describe you the same way in private, it's already over. This is the part people get wrong, and you watch them get it wrong in real time. Legends aren't made through self-praise, not through branding, not through loud storytelling. Anyone can hype themselves. That stuff collapses the second pressure shows up. This was different. Your name grew in rooms you weren't in. Your reputation was shaped by conversations you never heard. Not staged ones, honest ones. The kind people have when they think no one's listening and there's nothing to gain by lying. That's where legends are actually built. Every call they made added weight. Another stone, another layer, another confirmation stacked on top of the last. They didn't realize it, but they were doing the construction work for you, brick by brick, voice by voice, all without your involvement. Imagine this. Someone asks about you casually, expecting a quick answer. Instead, the reply turns thoughtful, slower, measured. Yeah, they're different. That pause matters. That's respect forming naturally, not forced. You might be thinking, why does this feel bigger than success? Because success can be accidental. A phenomenon can't. A phenomenon shows up consistently across time, across people, across situations. That's what they documented. They thought they were investigating a person, a role, a moment. Instead, they recorded a pattern that refused to break. Pressure didn't expose cracks. It revealed structure. Here's another image. Imagine people circling something dangerous, not touching it, just observing from a distance because instinct tells them it's real. That's how the tone shifted around you. This answers a quiet question many of you feel now. Why do I feel heavier in rooms? Because legend energy carries gravity. It bends attention. It changes behavior without demanding it. You didn't narrate your story, they did. And once that happens, the title sticks without effort. Number 13, the final stamp. They can't peel off. You don't get this kind of confirmation by accident. One voice can lie, dozens saying the same thing is a verdict. Once reality signs your name, there's no erasing it. This was the last move they had, the desperation play, dozens of calls, stretched thin, hoping fatigue would do what doubt couldn't. All they wanted was one voice, just one. Someone willing to say you were fake, inflated, acting. One crack they could wedge open and crawl back into comfort. It never came. Every single call landed the same way. Different mouths, same message. You're real, you're solid, you're powerful in a way that doesn't need noise, not hype power, not borrowed shine, the kind that holds up under pressure and looks the same from every angle. Imagine flipping over card after card, praying for a different symbol, and seeing the same mark burned into each one. That's what happened. No variation, no exception, no escape. This answers the last question some of you still feel in your chest. Why does this feel final? Because it is. Appeals only exist when evidence is shaky. Revisions only happen when stories change. Yours didn't. It held steady while they exhausted every angle. Here's another image. Imagine a door slamming shut, so cleanly there's no echo, no drama, just silence and certainty. That's the moment this reached. They can't reinterpret it, they can't soften it, they can't pretend it didn't happen. Every time they think about you now, they remember how hard they tried to disprove you and failed. The verdict is in, not trending, not debated, filed. No appeal, no revision, no rewrite. You're not becoming anything. You already are. You're that one. So here's where it settles, not with fireworks, not with noise, with weight, with that calm, dangerous stillness that only shows up after something irreversible has happened. The calls were made, the stories aligned, the verdict locked in. And now everyone is living in the aftermath of a truth they didn't expect to survive scrutiny. This is the part they don't prepare you for, when being right doesn't feel loud, when winning doesn't feel dramatic, when power feels quiet, controlled, and a little intimidating. You don't need to convince anyone anymore. The room already decided. Every glance, every pause, every careful word confirms it. You're not chasing validation, you're carrying confirmation. And if this hit you the way it was meant to, don't let it pass without marking the moment. Hit the like button so this message travels further than you ever had to. Subscribe, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of deeper breakdowns they don't want explained. Drop 777 in the comments if you know this wasn't entertainment for you, it was recognition. And share this with the one person who's been doubting themselves quietly, because this might be the mirror they need. You didn't ask for the spotlight, you survived the audit. You didn't declare yourself chosen, you were confirmed. Stay steady, stay silent when needed. Let the universe keep doing what it's been doing. Because once the verdict is in, the only move left is forward.